We thank you very much for tuning in to the No Fruit Podcast. As of right now, we have a special guest. And I want you to consider this like you can be married, successful, surrounded by people, and still feel alone. Today, we're joined by Gabor, founder of Friending.com, who is challenging the belief that loneliness is weakness and showing us how intentional connection can be built, not just wished for. We'll talk about it right after this.
Let's talk about love and marriage the way that God intended. A life experience, here we share it. The No Fruit Podcast. Tune in from any platform. The No Fruit Podcast will help your spirit transform.
Thank you. So today, our guest, he brings both thought leadership and practical tools to a topic many people silently struggle with: how to cope with being alone and how to build real connection in an increasingly disconnected world. So, Gabor, first of all, thank you very much for coming on the
Yes,
show.
thank you for being here with us.
And so, when someone says, I feel alone, what are they really saying beneath the surface?
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me. Yes, feeling alone is something that a lot of people in the US feel. Believe it or not, statistically, over 60 million people say that they're alone. And what's interesting to me is that it's not something you would brag about. So if 60 million people admit that they're alone, my question, at least to myself, is how many people are really alone? And that's scary,
Yeah.
especially if you look at the projections in a 5-10 year time span. 65% of the Americans will be alone.
Mm.
Interesting.
It's a huge number. Nobody is really thinking about it, why that's going on, what should society change as the big picture, but what can you as an individual do to be not part of that 65% in the next 5 to 10 years. So
Mm.
my biggest reason for doing friending is that people will actually find somebody to spend some time with other than being in front of the screen. Because in
Mm.
my mind, that's the biggest falsehood. Um, Most people would have, I don't know, 100 or perhaps 1,000 friends on Facebook. I was talking to somebody else earlier, and he was saying, well, so and so is my best friend. And it turns out that they never met.
Wow.
So to me, that's a contradiction. I
Right.
am 62, and I grew up meeting my friends in the real sense of the world, in the real life sense of the world.
Right.
And today, the internet, you know, we're living the most connected era of history,
Mm-hmm.
yet we are the most disconnected bunch, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, since humanity. So there seems
Mm.
to be some real issues here.
And so there's something that cause we did our research. We really did our research, right? And so there's something that you had mentioned in on another show that we listened to where you talked about how you might have bounced around a little bit, moving around a little bit. And a lot of times I think that um we don't have that foundation, perceived foundation. Where you have built up these friends in this area, and so you may not be able to go through some of the challenges because one of the things that you had mentioned on this show as well, where you talk about riding your bike, and so
Yes.
when you're riding your bike with your friends, how many hills did y'all, ride the bike on, and how many times did y'all pop wheelies together, or fell together, so you had that opportunity to build that bond for people to help each other out, where people don't have that opportunity right now to show empathy or sympathy or whatever it might be, and or not just to give it, but to also receive it. And I think those are some of the things that we have challenges with today, and I think that's why I think what you're offering is such a great asset because we do, and I totally agree that we do feel way more disconnected because we don't have that emotional bond, not just physical but also emotional.
Yes, and getting back to the emotional bond, friending is, as its name suggests, is a friending platform to find friends. And the huge difference uh, is that each individual is verified by Persona, which is a third-party app, meaning that you need your driver's license and selfie to make sure you're say who you are is really who you are. Because getting back to the emotional bond, imagine a situation on a friending or dating platform where you've been exchanging messages and with, I don't know, being a guy perhaps an 18-year-old, nice blonde, whatever. And you've been exchanging messages maybe for a couple of weeks. You just suggest you meet and then you get ghosted
Hmm.
because it
Hmm.
turns out that profile was a fake, so obviously you couldn't meet. But in that couple of weeks, you've built up a mental picture and an emotional bond without actually meeting the person.
Hmm.
You met up some sort of expectation perhaps. So all of that has to do with, it's more than being ghosted, you're
Hmm.
actually being emotionally affected
Hmm.
by the illusion of something or somebody. And
Mm.
this is what we're preventing because everybody is verified. You may say you're the best tennis player and you never met, you never played a single game in your life, but at
Right.
least that's how you look like. So
Right.
your basic characteristics cannot be lied about. You may lie about your abilities. I think people will sort of stretch the truth or whatever,
Yeah.
but at least you're there. And we emphasize physical meetings, and you can only become friend on friending if your phone is next to each other, meaning that you have met in person.
Mm.
And that means a lot. I think making that personal connection and physical connection, I think, adds to uh, building a stronger relationship, building a
Hmm.
stronger bond, as you're stating, with social media, with this digital world that we have. We're missing a lot of that.
Hmm.
Um, and it will take a lot to get us back to being in person again. So
Hmm.
talk to us a little bit like how do you think this is going to work in the future?
Yes, one of those guys who hopefully that society will eventually realize that it's going in the wrong direction and the trend or the tide will turn. And there are minute signs. There is a new, I don't know, word, I guess, called Deplugged, which I only read about, I don't know, a month or so ago, which is a new movement where people go hiking and they have to leave their phone at home,
Mm-hmm.
or if they go to a bar, they need to lock it up in a, in a locker. So people are realizing that this is not the way to do it because it is the first generation who from day one had internet.
Yes.
They could um, that's the biggest problem. If you go to a diner perhaps in the morning on a weekend and you see a family of four, they are each on their respective devices.
Hmm.
Even a, I don't know, 2, 3 year old would have an
Right.
iPhone or whatever in front of him or her
Mm-hmm.
with a cartoon on it. Really, is that parenting?
Right.
Mm.
Putting a phone and ignoring him or her. So of course, people cannot distinguish it from the age two. All you see is the screen. You don't know what true friendship is because all you see is your animated characters on the screen.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think some of that we don't always understand what our challenges are behind the scenes, because a lot of us may categorize ourselves as introverts. We don't really know how to communicate with our brother or our sister, our neighbor, our uncle, whatever it is. We don't know how to really articulate what we feel in a moment. And I think that's some of the challenges that we have. And we don't know how to um, even deal with any other health challenges, depression, anxiety, whatever it is. So I think some of us like to retreat in that, what we call a healthy, I'm using this idea, this healthy mindset of solitude, if you will, because I don't know how to deal with that. I feel socially awkward. So how would I deal with that? How would you suggest for someone to really deal with that, especially if I'm running away from those type of situations?
Yes, a very good question. And the only person who can help you is you, meaning that you need to find a way to do things that you enjoy in a group. That is
Mm,
why friending is different from dating in many ways, because I believe that all relationships start off as friends. So it may turn into something more, it may turn into a romantic encounter, but you still start off as friends.
mm-hmm,
There's far less pressure in terms of rejection because you're not really looking for a romantic relationship.
mm-hmm,
The person, the way friending is set up is in a 50-mile radius, so it's not too far to drive, and based on common activities. So if you both enjoy walks, you just find a place to do that. Be it a coffee shop, you find a place to do that.
mm-hmm,
And we emphasize safety. There are various ways to, if you feel uncomfortable in a meeting, you can tap the screen 3 times, and either the
mm,
police will come, a friend will come, or anybody in the neighborhood with the friending app will come. So it's
mm,
basically a very safe way to end. You have to understand that you live in a falsehood if you look at the screen all day.
mm-hmm,
And you should ask yourself, how many people have I met today in
Hmm.
real life? And if it is zero, try to think of ways to change that.
right, right,
And I realized that COVID added a lot of pressure to people, even, I don't know, 4 years, 5 years after the actual epidemic. Companies realize perhaps it is more economical to have people work from home, but you psychologically, perhaps you were never prepared to do that. You enjoyed
mm-hmm,
the work environment. You had coffee with a friend, or a coworker, whatever. Suddenly, you're stuck, and you're spending, let's say, 6 hours in Zoom meetings,
mm-hmm,
work-wise. Then you spend your next 6 hours watching whatever you happen to watch, a stream. So you're spending 12, 14 hours perhaps a day in
right,
front of a screen. So you lose touch of reality because all you see are images of people on the screen, both work
mm,
wise and what you would call entertainment or relaxation wise.
mm. I think there's something that, as I'm listening to you, um, you originally earlier in the conversation you talked about people being catfished overall, right? Yeah,
Yes.
um, but then also in this place of work, um, we also lose in Zoom meetings or whatever it is. Sometimes we lose our self worth, our true identity, because, like as you also stated, hey, you know what? I'm a great tennis player. You won't know until we step on a tennis court. I could tell you, whatever
Yes.
it is. And so sometimes we are intimidated because the image that the other person on the other side might show. So how can I get my self-worth back if I'm struggling with that? Because I can go into these other social media platforms or whatever it is and show who I really am in my mind. So how do I get my self-worth back?
Yes. Basically, that is the problem. If you look at other social media platform, everybody's life is perfect,
Yes.
um, and which is obviously a falsehood. And so you have to really look inside yourself and decide, well, okay, I need to change that because the image I'm projecting may say I'm perfect, but inside I know I am not. So,
Yeah.
and you are the only one who knows that because your projected image is the perfect world. And that
Mhm.
is the problem because I look at your projected image and say, hey, gee, he or she is perfect. What's
Mhm.
wrong with me?
Mhm.
And that is, of course, again destroys your self-image, that you assume that everybody else is perfect because that's your visual cue,
Mhm.
and you know yourself that you're not. So because you're not living in the real world, I mean, or you are, but the images that you see are not the real world.
Right.
That is why it's important to go out and actually meet some of those perfect people if they're in the neighborhood, or if not, then find perfect people in your neighborhood, so you can see how perfect they are, and compare yourself not to the image, but to the
Mm,
actual person. And
Right.
that is crucial. That, I can project whatever image I want, but really, you will only get to know me once we meet.
Yeah,
mm,
yeah. So I have a question. I mean, it seems a lot that the app is great for individuals to meet other individuals. But here at the No Fruit Podcast, we push relationships, and Maurice and
mm.
I have been married for over 25 years, and we've always said, well, where are the other married couples? Where are they?
Yes.
You know, who do we go double dates with? Like some of our friends are not married,
Mhm.
but we're always looking for to find other married couples to hang out with, to do, like you said, they want to go on hikes with us or
Mm,
want to go miniature golfing with us,
mm.
those types of things. So, how does this app or can this app help us as a married couple find other married couples to do things with, as build those types of friendships?
Absolutely. In friending, you create what is called "Are you in" card, meaning are you into that activity? And
Mhm.
in that, you can specify, hey, primarily looking for married couples
Great.
to go hiking with. And there's also a great feature, if you go out running and you feel a bit sort of, I don't know, lonely, maybe the wrong word, but it would be nice to run with somebody else. Real time, you can say, hey, this is where I am. If anybody is in the neighborhood running, you can actually sort of follow me like the luggage tag sort of thing,
Hmm.
and then we could meet up, in the next corner or a few blocks from there. So it's sort of real time as well. You can find activities that you're doing now to see if somebody else is doing the same thing in the neighborhood.
Oh, great.
So
Yeah.
Mm. Hmm. As you keep saying neighborhood, it makes me think about Mr. Rogers. I'm sorry. But and I'm saying that because um you're speaking about, hey, you know what, we can meet at the coffee shop, Panera Bread, Dunkin' Donuts, Longhorn Steakhouse. I mean, whatever it might be, right? But I'm saying that because we have some senior family members that are a little nervous about safety, right? And um, whether it's social media, whether it's just walking down the street to the corner store, they're a little nervous about safety. And so even when you talked about being catfish, again, that's a safety concern. So I heard you speak about the hey, people need to be more verified. How about, what do you think across the board? Do you think that there's enough safety that contributes to our anxiety of being unsafe?
yes, obviously the persona verification just determines that you're real, which is of course important and step one. But you still don't know if I'm a predator in some way. So that's why I was saying that the real safety feature in terms of physical meeting is the fact that you have three options once you tap the screen. You actually also need a Bluetooth device because that's the way it's on iOS only. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the way Apple works, is that it needs to communicate constantly with a Bluetooth device so that it could alert either the police because they know where you are because of your phone, or the person that you have designated, maybe a family member, to come and get you, or just anybody who happens to be in the neighborhood with the friending app. So we are really, I guess, keyed on to making it safe for any generation. And
Mm-hmm.
don't forget that the fact that you're verified doesn't only mean that you exist. It means that we have your real name. From there, the police can get your real address, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would need to be, I'm not saying stupid, but um, that to do anything once when people know who you are, who you really are. So
Mm-hmm.
there's also a barrier in some respects, that not just who not that you exist, but I'm not going to rob that person when they know,
Mm,
you know,
mhm.
who's committing the crime.
Right.
Right. Right.
So, on a secondary level, it also serves as a prevention of something, or preventive measure.
And I think that's great not only for the individual who is using the service and using the app, but it's also great for family members to
Mm-hmm.
know that, hey, my single or my family member is going to go out with this new friend that we haven't met, and there is a safety measure that, hey, if I feel unsafe,
Mm-hmm.
you will be alerted, or uh, I'll know where you are. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I know the location that you're going to. So I think family members can have a better sense of security in this as well. We
Mm-hmm.
have two young adult children,
Yeah.
and they travel and they go out with their friends or their new friends, and they date, and we're always cautious. Like,
Mm-hmm.
where are you going? What time are you going to be back? Who are you going with? And we have all these questions. But again, if something should happen to them, um, how are we alerted? And I think, what you're offering on your app provides, a little bit more of a sense of security, not only for that individual that's out, but also
Their
for,
loved ones.
yeah, their loved ones who are concerned about them coming back safely. And, yeah, so, and I think it's also good that even if it's not the person that they're meeting that they're having an issue with, but if the two people are approached by someone else
Yeah,
or
some other
whatever, I think
challenges.
that's great as well. That, hey, we're out hiking and something happened, someone can get alerted that way as
Right.
well. So I think that's another great thing. What are some of the other great features that this provides, this app has?
Um, we're also trying to, as I said, enhance friendship. And two things we have done. One of them, let me show you, is this coffee, which is a nice packaging of the Golden Gate Bridge, but more importantly, the backside, which has a QR code. And the interesting part about that is you can send a gift coffee to your friend. And when you order the coffee on our site, friending.com, you can actually send a message with it. And
Mm.
so basically, the person needs to download the app to read the QR code to read the message.
Mm.
And it's something different because you don't need a birthday card. There's also a birthday version of this, by the way. And it's something different. Again, engages the other person. And also, if you're looking at activities like fishing, perhaps, which is maybe an all day activity, one party maybe traveled an hour or whatever to go to this lake, and it's getting late in the evening. And if you host that person at home so they can stay the night, at the moment the app is free. Later on, it will be about $5 or so per month. But if you hosted that person, you actually get a free month of usage
Okay.
Mm.
because you embrace friendship, the idea of
Mm-hmm.
you basically hosted an almost stranger in your home to build a better relationship with them, and we are actually honoring that. We're giving you 1 free month of I guess, friending
Mm-hmm.
membership. At the
Mm.
moment, it is free, so this is something for the future. But I'm emphasizing it because we truly believe that the real connection, you need to be with somebody. You cannot do that
Mm.
online. And spending an evening having perhaps a beer or coffee or whatever, discussing the day, how fishing went or whatever it happened to be,
Mm-hmm.
and so we really honor the fact that you went the extra mile to not to have that friend drive back maybe in the evening,
Mm-hmm.
and you allowed him or her to stay there.
Nice,
Great.
nice. So, we thank you very much for coming on the show. So, where can people find this app or where they can find you and talk to you a little bit more, especially if they feel like they're isolated or not secure or whatever the situation might be? Where can they get more information?
The website is friending.com. You can email us at podcast@friending.com. Also, if you go to our website to the shop and you type in podcast 10, you will get a 10% discount from the coffee prices.
Great.
So,
Nice.
and you're free to send us emails, questions, suggestions. Tell me your experience. One of the things we plan to do in the future is actually have it on Facebook or on our site, people telling them that, hey, we spent the day fishing and this is what happened, etc. So
Great.
we're really looking forward to receiving personal experiences.
Nice, nice, nice. We appreciate you coming on. But we do have one last
One
question.
last question.
One last question. And it's a question that we ask all of our guests,
Hmm.
right? And for those individuals that are, they wish they did have someone that they can sing a duet with, right? At some point in time in their life. But how about for yourself? Do you have someone that you would like to sing a duet with, whether it's dead or alive, that you would like to share with us today?
Yes, Elvis.
Elvis,
Elvis.
yes.
Yes. As long as I don't have to sing, I'm fine. Because if you ask me to sing, I don't think you'll have any more lessons ever.
Oh, great, great.
That's nice. That's
Wonderful,
nice.
yes. Elvis a good one, yes.
Yeah, he is. He is, most definitely. But,
Hmm.
so I thank you very much for coming on the show and sharing with us
Thank you
today.
for having me.
Sure. And I think, everyone, I want you to really think about what's going on. One last idea is that I would like for you to understand what's really going on, why you might feel isolated or alone or whatever it is, and what type of value that this type of app can provide for you. So like, share, and subscribe with this episode, and please let everyone know about friending.com. And we thank y'all very much for listening, and we'll talk to you just a little bit later.
Thank you for
Thanks for
having me.
tuning in to another episode of the No Fruit Podcast, where we bring you fruitful conversations, ripened wisdom, and love that's deeply rooted. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who could use a little inspiration in their day. Until next time, stay rooted in love, and remember, every seed you plant today shapes the fruit of tomorrow.